Welcome to my studio. If you've been here before, you know this is a place of no expectations, no judgment, and pure, unfiltered process. Here's my little palette today. They switch up from time to time. I started painting while watching a video of somebody teaching a tutorial for beginners on how to render an eye in oil paint. And it was really lovely at first, and truly nothing against them. It was a wonderful video. But I got so stressed. And I started thinking about this painting and wondering if I was doing anything right, or if my techniques were something that someone else on the internet was going to call out and question. They were talking about keeping your brushes clean, so here are my super messy brushes. And then they started sharing all of these different rules to the technique, and without those rules, we can't make abstract paintings like the one I'm making right now. But I think what we've been caught up in as a society is perfection, making sure it all looks great on the internet, and that my little chalice I'm wiping out here should be impeccably clean and not covered in paint from the last few times I've used it. But truly, I just think I wanted to paint. I didn't want to think about what the rules are of painting. I just want to be myself. I don't want to feel stressed. I don't want to have 15 different brushes for 15 different colors. I'll use one brush and clean it off. I find it okay to mix colors. I find it okay to just put a paintbrush in my mouth from its end and carry it around. So I'm gonna go in here and establish these wings that what I'm calling the Queen of Experimentation has. And absolutely, I'm using pure white. If you're a more technical artist, you don't have to like my work. You don't have to like the way I paint. This video is here for people to put on in the background or paint along with me without feeling like they're doing anything wrong. And if my artwork makes you feel unsettled by the way I approach it, I hope you seek out artwork that makes you feel valued and seen the way you want to see art and the way you want to see process. I am in my little tiny studio, so climbing over a few things. Today I think I just want to make a mess. A simple mess, but a mess nonetheless. This painting is going to be lots and lots of layers and lots of sessions to be able to render what I really hope to see in it. And what I like about real-time painting is you get to see how long something actually takes. Even when you feel like you've done very little, but you've painted for half an hour. You can look back at it and say, you know what? The painting really changed from when I started. When I originally started working on this canvas, I put a lot of texture into it. So I'm now in a space where I have to navigate around that. And here's the thing about beginning a process. Sometimes you make a little bit of a mess. White paint gets somewhere you don't want it to go. But what's awesome about oil paint is you can just take your t-shirt, put it in some mineral spirits, and dab, dab, dab. Very gently. should start to come off. It'll smudge at first. Stay calm. Stay calm. Wonderful. And if you remember from the last video, there's a fly in my studio who doesn't really want to leave. So he's welcomed. Totally an invader, but we celebrate him being here. It's summertime. Welcome in. The windows are open. So we're really working with a lot of pure white. I'm just focused on shapes. A lot of art making is basic shapes, and then building upon those literal building blocks to create your final picture or visual. Here I'm thinking that maybe the bottom of the wing needs a little bit more width to it. And then the one on the other side needs some height. And maybe that's really what I wanted to think about today, is that, yeah, I saw this video where I felt there were a bunch of rules. But really those rules of saying, okay, these proportions look out of place, and I should consider where the light source in this painting is coming, they do have a place, even in processes like mine. But when they start to stress you out, it's okay to turn them off. It's okay to say to yourself that I don't need to do things perfect. And so now I feel like the end of the wing is a little bit too big. I can always paint over anything that doesn't come off later. Again, layers, layers, layers in this piece. That's all she's going to be. But I am going to thin it out just a little bit. It's not a mistake. It's just not what I envisioned. But we'll work with it. I think brushes are a really important thing to talk about in art making. I was trained using fashion sketching techniques, and a lot of that is using watercolors and one singular brush. So I still use that as a technique today, but it doesn't always translate to traditional oil making, oil painting techniques. But what I like about it is that my colors get super unified across the painting. And it's good to have neutrals. I don't mind if my paint gets muddy. And so I'm making this little fire over here using some of the browns I pulled for the tree on the other side. And it's catching a little bit of white. And fire has reflective tendencies. Fire has light caught in it. And so if I get dribbles of white in my little fire over here, I don't mind. And the way I'm using my brush right now is chaos. Trying to get that chaotic energy of the fire from my hand into the visual. If you're making art or you are an artist, your energy lives in your artwork. Look at this. It looks like a fire. It didn't have to be perfect at all. I love that. Perfection makes me so tired. It doesn't feel like me. And so if you noticed, I'm now switching to the other side of the canvas using the same little brown color, and the fly seems really interested today, flying in and out of frame. But this little character that I noticed in the last painting session, I don't know who it is, but they're very curious about the queen of experimentation, and perhaps it's a part of self, that more demure part that wishes it could have some more confidence. Maybe that is the perfect self, the one that wishes it could be more free and less judgmental. And so it's just timid, hiding, being a bit voyeuristic towards this total diva who's taking up all of the canvas, claiming her space. And maybe this orange character over here wants a taste of that. Maybe it wants to feel that way. But it's stuck in the forest. It's stuck feeling like it has to do everything correctly, that it can't just fully present itself to us in all of its beauty, all of its glory. Now I'm trying to define some fingers that creep out behind. I have some wax on this canvas that the first time I played around with it, I was dumping wax on it and I never fully got it off. And luckily they landed in just the right place where they can kind of integrate into these fingers that are grasping onto the tree bark. Should we give the fly a name? I don't know. If you want to leave a comment, give the fly a name. I don't know how much longer he'll be a tenant in my studio, but every time I open the window, he has a hard time leaving. Maybe he's even non-binary. Who am I to gender this fly? I'm going to bring some flesh tones in, which I rarely do. I think a lot of my characters or people I paint are so vibrant because I like to see the vibrancy in people. So if you notice the queen of experimentation, she is blue, 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 but not because she's sad. I think she's just a calming, welcoming presence. She's got a little bit of purple. This character behind the tree is more human than that. It's more fragile. So we're going to put some skin tones in. And I am shading by a light source. I am thinking about this kind of moonlit forest where there is a moon kind of up to the upper left, just out of sight, just beyond the trees. And these two characters here radiate with their own aura. And yeah, I'm putting in a few shadows just to the base of the fingertips, right where they would fold over each other to define the parts of the body. I'm going to put a little shadow on the torso because the tree is going to shed light in some areas, then it's going to shadow other areas. Add a little leg to this character. Clean my brush. I gotta change colors, but my brush is still not perfect. I think there's a little bit of orange and white still left on there, but now I feel it's time to add some shading to the tree, just going in with burnt umber. Because if the moon is above the tree, then those leaves are gonna cast light in a very particular way where there'll be a shadow underneath the bushel onto the trunk. And listen, I'm not too sure. I'm not too perfect. But I do know that there would also be a slight shadow where our person peeking out from behind is going to be. Because their body is going to block the light that comes from above. And again, if you've been with me before, I'm working with a very specific camera lens that is really zoomed in. And so we don't totally see the bottom of the painting, but I'm coming in here and adding some definition to the roots. And I'll show you at the end. It actually comes out quite nice. I'll get a new camera lens. Maybe if we help this channel reach a certain amount of subscribers, views, and all of the things the algorithm just loves, I'll be able to afford a new lens. And you can see the whole thing in one go. And now I'm adding in some green because I want to establish the ground, the baseline. What I'm thinking about is the forest floor and adding in these super brushy, bushely strokes. They're like grass blades. I'm establishing an horizon line of where the sky would technically meet the ground and realize that I have space to add another tree, just peeking in to show that we are in a forest. There's more than one tree on this side of the painting, giving it some depth. Won't be the most detailed or noticeable tree. What it does is nod to an extension of this environment. Putting in some more grass. Let's take a look at it. The fly joined us and said, let me take a look at it too. Hopefully the fly thinks it looks good. But then again, this is my painting, not the flies. And now I'm up at the top of the painting. Again, I'll show you what it looks like in the end. I'm just adding in some blue sky, establishing a little bit of a base for a future session where I add in maybe some stars, a little bit of universe, and then integrating it into some of the treetops to make it look like there is a night sky glowing behind the trees. I appreciate you sitting with me and working with what I got. I can't seem to find an angle that captures this whole piece with the way my camera zooms in this far. That's okay. Maybe you're just here with me in the background. I'm okay to be your ambient friend. And so this is where probably my painting gets a little controversial. I am going in and adding this aura-based light to our humanoid character here. And yeah, my brush is super messy. Look at it. Oh, missed it. But it's messy. You can see. So messy, I feel like I need to just give a quick wipe on that tarp next to me. I don't mind. I'm going to pick up my paint and I'm going to put on paint the way I feel is right. And I'm mixing some white, some blue and reds, with this kind of purpley glow. I'm being very gentle, integrating it into the green that I've already painted, which with oil paints is definitely still wet. This humanoid, whoever this character is, certainly curious, certainly hopeful that they could learn something from the Queen of Experimentation. That doesn't mean they don't have their own glow, their own beautiful way about them. And now I have reached a point where I need to think about technique. And that happens. It's fine. And so I have a nice, clean, dry-ish brush, rinsed in mineral spirits, and I'm just softening these edges. And yeah, I've been using the same brush the whole time. I've used one other thin brush sporadically. What's interesting about this brush is I actually cut it. And from the first time I put some blue paint on this painting, I let it dry. I broke a rule. That's okay. And I could never seem to fully get the blue paint out of it, so I just cut it. And I really like it now. It's this short, stumpy little thing. It's almost like a shading brush. We see a scene really start to come together, a story, a narrative. And I gotta say, that's not really something I ever thought would happen with this painting. I've mentioned before that I put this painting away. I was kind of ashamed of her because she wasn't perfect. She didn't use all the right oil painting techniques. That's not how we should approach our art. It's okay to have a few techniques under your belt and then see if something else actually works better for you. And for me, just gliding my brush across the canvas with my fly friend and dirty brush works for me. Kind of wonderful if you think about this unhinged way of art making. It's less pressure on yourself. Don't get me wrong, I've made a few oil paintings. I'll put my little egg up on the screen right here. I love this egg. Made a few oil paintings that do have proper technique, and I love them just as equally. They can't always be this big They can't always be this expressive. They always have to be a lot more simple because we're focused on proper rendering rather than what I would consider as proper expression. Proper expression is just freedom. Make what you want. Paint how you want. Be free. Your process belongs to you. And yes, I'm off screen again. I'm just adding blue to the sky and a little bit of touch-ups to the tree where you see the base of the canvas and it doesn't look like the sky is behind the tree. So I'm adding in these little blue blobs and then softening them out. And then recognizing I don't think there's enough shadow underneath the tree growth. I want more. Where is the light hitting? Where will the shadows fall? Look at this palette. Saying, don't look at the painting, look at me. I'm the beautiful palette. And yeah, I organize my colors kind of. Over time, they just find places all over the canvas. But I try to keep color theory in mind of keeping warmer tones on one side of the palette and cooler tones on another. Neutrals somewhere in the middle so they're easily accessible to mix. Adding some shadow to the roots of the tree. And to the other tree, the one that's peeking out from the background. Up with the brush, and I think we're good. We're done. Giving it a dance. Realizing that I didn't even knot the little tie on my pants. It's not a utilitarian knot. It's decorative. Oh well. And if you're curious, like I got here, about how this t-shirt is starting to look, here's a little peek. Yeah, stylish, right? All set. On to the next one. Here is an overview of the artwork. And until next time, bye.